let me be brutally honest with you. There comes a point in life where friendliness becomes a liability, not because kindness is wrong, but because overextending it in old age often means giving away the little energy, clarity, and dignity you've worked your whole life to earn. You were not born to be liked. You were born to leave a mark. In your younger years, friendliness helped you build networks. It got you access. It helped you survive. But in your later years, it can become a trap, a way to seek validation, a strategy to avoid hard truths, a shield that protects comfort and kills growth. Here's what they won't tell you in old age: being too nice becomes a form of self-abandonment. And if you're still trying to win people's approval at 50, 60, 70 years old, you're not aging, you're regressing. Let's break this illusion down. Friendliness can be a beautiful thing. It builds bridges, softens hearts, and brings people together. But there's a dangerous illusion that creeps in as we get older, the belief that being endlessly friendly equates to being wise. That because you've lived longer, you must also tolerate more, accept more, smile more, and speak less. It's a trap, a slow erosion of self-respect hidden under the mask of maturity. Let's tell the truth. Many people confuse excessive friendliness with wisdom, but the two couldn't be further apart. Real wisdom knows where to draw the line. Real wisdom doesn't fear the cost of being honest. Real wisdom understands that saying no at the right time is far more powerful than saying yes to keep the peace. As you age, people start projecting onto you. They expect you to be available, to play the role of the peacekeeper, the understanding elder, the always patient listener. They come to you not because they respect your time, but because they believe you won't say no. They think you're too kind, too wise, too experienced to push back. That's when friendliness stops being a strength and starts becoming a liability. You begin to shrink. You give up your personal time to help someone move their furniture. Again, you listen to the same people vent about the same problems they've made no effort to solve. You say yes to events you don't want to attend. You make space in your life for people who wouldn't do the same for you. You give and give and give until there's nothing left for yourself. And worst of all, you convince yourself this is noble. But it's not noble. It's naive. It's weakness dressed up as humility. There's a reason boundaries exist. They're not walls to keep others out. They're filters to keep your purpose in. In your later years, your time becomes more valuable, not less. Your energy is more sacred, not more disposable. Every conversation, every commitment, every interaction has a cost. And if you're not careful, you'll go bankrupt, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You don't need to prove your goodness by being endlessly available. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. You've earned the right to protect your space. You've walked through fire, made sacrifices, endured heartbreak, lost opportunities, missed sleep, and carried burdens no one will ever understand. And now, you're supposed to throw away your hard-earned clarity for the sake of being nice. No, not anymore. When you're too friendly, people start to forget your value. You become the one who always says yes, always shows up, always listens. You become the emotional dumping ground for others, the default backup plan, the safe bet. But you weren't made for that. You were made for impact. And impact doesn't come from overextending yourself. It comes from being fiercely selective about where you place your time and presence. You've probably noticed that the world doesn't give much back to the overly friendly. In old age, there's no parade, no badge of honor. Often, there's just silence. You gave, they took, and then they left. You sacrificed, they benefited, and now they don't call. You thought kindness would buy loyalty, but what it bought was expectation. It trained people to believe you'd always be there, regardless of how tired, stretched, or disrespected you felt. And deep down, you know it. You feel it in your chest. The quiet resentment that builds up after yet another favor. The invisible weight that grows heavier every time you don't speak your truth. The sting of being forgotten until you're needed. That's not wisdom. That's self-abandonment. Real wisdom is knowing the power of presence. It's knowing that your silence can be more commanding than 100 friendly words. It's knowing when to walk away. It's refusing to be manipulated by guilt. It's saying, I love you, but I don't owe you my life. It's understanding that not every phone call deserves a callback. Not every request deserves a yes. And not every person deserves a seat at your table. The older you get, the more you must protect yourself, not just from the world, but from the parts of yourself that still want to be liked. That still fear being alone. That still believe your worth is measured by your usefulness. Those voices must die, because they are the very voices that keep you locked in cycles of sacrifice and silence. There is strength in restraint. There is power in choosing who you allow into your orbit. You're not being rude when you set limits. You're not being selfish when you reclaim your time. You're not being cold when you decide to disengage from toxic people or energy-draining situations. You're being strategic. You're being responsible. You're finally stepping into the authority you've earned. This is your legacy stage, not the rehearsal, not the warm-up. This is it. Every decision you make now defines how you'll be remembered. Will you be remembered as the person who was always there for everyone, or the person who stood for something, who led by example, who protected their purpose with unwavering discipline? It's not too late to reclaim your power, to stop mistaking friendliness for virtue, to choose depth over access, silence over small talk, truth over tolerance. Kindness is still important, but kindness without boundaries is just quiet self-destruction. And you've come too far to keep betraying yourself for the comfort of others. Stand tall, speak less, draw the line, and protect what's left of your fire like it's the last flame on earth. Because it just might be. There's something quietly devastating that happens when you become too friendly in the later stages of life. It doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in, unnoticed, like rust on metal. One day you're driven building, planning, dreaming. The next you're sipping tea at someone else's pace, smiling politely while your own fire goes cold. That fire, the one that pushed you to build, to chase, to innovate, slowly dims under the weight of constant friendliness. It's not that kindness is wrong. It's that excessive friendliness, when unchecked, becomes a slow death to ambition. When you prioritize being liked over building something that matters, you trade impact for approval. You choose comfort over progress. And in the long run, that choice empties you out. The world doesn't need more agreeable people in their old age. It needs leaders. It needs minds that refuse to settle. It needs the ones who've seen the cycles, who've weathered the chaos, who have the blueprint to create, but are still hungry enough to act. But that hunger dies every time you sit in a room you don't want to be in, having conversations that drain you with people who just want your presence, not your brilliance. There's a reason most people stop building after a certain age. It's not the lack of energy. It's not their failing health. It's because the system convinces them to slow down, be pleasant, and enjoy the rest of life. It seduces them with mediocrity disguised as peace. And the more they say yes to it, the more their edge disappears. You see it all the time. The once vibrant mind now reduced to shallow conversations and passive routines. The once bold voice now softened by the fear of being too intense. The drive to create, to disrupt, to build something meaningful, smothered under layers of friendliness that never challenged anyone, never risked offense, never stood for anything uncomfortable. And the tragedy, most of them don't even realize it's happening. They think they're evolving, being more balanced, more relaxed. But underneath it all, they're quietly dying, not physically, creatively, spiritually, emotionally. They think retirement is the goal. They think slowing down is wisdom. They think being agreeable is the currency of legacy. But nothing of value was ever built by someone who just wanted to be agreeable. Excessive friendliness breeds complacency. It tells you it's okay to postpone your next idea. It convinces you that mentoring someone else is more important than pushing your own limits. It distracts you with the illusion of connection while your own vision collects dust in the background. And you know what's worse? People will celebrate you for it. They'll applaud how present you are, how available you are, how generous. But they'll never push you to build again. They'll never ask, what are you working on? Because they don't want that version of you. The focused, intense, untouchable version that reminds them of everything they've stopped chasing. They want the softened version. The one that shows up to dinner, that nods and smiles, that no longer threatens the mediocrity around them. But here's the reality: you were not meant to live out your final chapters in maintenance mode. You were built for expansion even now, especially now. You have decades of experience. You know the mistakes. You see the patterns. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need to figure it all out. You just need to protect your urgency. Because if you don't, excessive friendliness will eat it alive. Every time you say yes to another mindless gathering, another pointless conversation, another obligation that doesn't align with your mission, you say no to your future. You surrender a piece of your genius to keep others comfortable. But genius was never meant to be polite. It was meant to be disruptive, uncomfortable, wild. You think the next great thing you're meant to build will come while you're busy nodding at small talk. You think breakthroughs happen in rooms where you're afraid to challenge people's thinking. You think the fire in your belly is supposed to be silenced just because people expect you to be nice in your 60s. No, that fire is your compass, and it only stays lit when you honor it, not with words but with action, with solitude, with brutal discipline, with boundaries so firm they offend the people who've been benefiting from your friendliness for far too long. Stop letting social obligations rob you of your edge. Stop playing it safe because you think it's too late to build. Stop pretending that peace is found in people pleasing. It's not. Real peace is found in creation, in purpose, in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire again and again. If there's still breath in your lungs, then there's still something for you to build. A business, a book, a system, a philosophy, a vision. Something only you can leave behind. But you'll never find it in comfort. You'll never find it in passiveness. And you damn sure won't find it in being the friendly one that everyone relies on but no one remembers. You don't need more people around you. You need more silence. More strategy, more time alone with your mission. You need to remember who you were before the world told you to be nice. That version of you, the builder, the innovator, the rebel, isn't gone. He's waiting. She's waiting. They're under the surface, buried beneath years of friendliness, nodding politely at the world, all while quietly screaming for one more shot. So give them that shot. Build something again. Build it messy. Build it loud. Build it alone if you have to. But for the love of your legacy, stop being so damn friendly that you forget what you're here to do. Create, lead, disrupt. Leave something behind that doesn't smell like compromise. Because you weren't meant to fade out. You were meant to finish fierce. Focus is often misunderstood. In youth, it's praised. In adulthood, it's expected. But in old age, people start mistaking your discipline for coldness, your solitude for arrogance, your silence for bitterness. And slowly, the pressure builds not to achieve more, but to soften more, to be more available, to be more fun, to be more socially acceptable. And that's when people start apologizing for simply being focused. They start feeling guilty for skipping events, for not replying to messages, for choosing work over chit-chat, for pursuing goals that others no longer understand. They water themselves down to keep up the illusion of friendliness. And in the process, they betray the very instincts that built their legacy. But here's the truth. Focus is not a flaw. It's not something to outgrow. It's not a bad habit to fix. It's a gift, a weapon, a filter that keeps the noise of the world from drowning out your inner calling. There's this myth that as you get older, you're supposed to slow down, not just physically, but mentally. That ambition has an expiration date. That tunnel vision is for the young. That after a certain age, you should stop trying to build and just enjoy life. But what most people call enjoyment is often just distraction disguised as peace. Focus doesn't mean you're detached from life. It means you've distilled it. You've seen enough of the world to know what matters. You've cut the fat. You've stopped pretending to care about things that drain your energy and bring no return. That's not selfish. That's strategic. But society doesn't want that version of you. It wants the softened version, the wise and agreeable elder who listens more than speaks, who nods more than challenges, who offers comfort instead of clarity. And when you step outside of that script, when you reclaim your time, guard your schedule, and choose purpose over popularity, people get uncomfortable. They label you as too intense, too distant, too busy. So what do most people do? They apologize, they downplay their goals, they force smiles in rooms they don't want to be in. They make themselves available for conversations that serve no one. They shrink their focus just enough to keep everyone else from feeling insecure, and in doing so, they bleed out their edge. But here's the brutal truth. You don't owe anyone your availability, not your friends, not your family, not the people who think you've changed. Focus is your survival mechanism. It's the reason you've come this far. And if you don't protect it, the world will chip away at it until there's nothing left. You don't need to explain why you didn't answer the phone. You don't need to justify why you skipped another social event. You don't need to feel bad for choosing solitude over small talk. You are not in this stage of life to be accessible. You're here to be unapologetically aligned with your vision. Focus is lonely, yes, but it's a sacred kind of loneliness. It's the space where ideas grow, where patterns reveal themselves, where you remember who you are. It's the opposite of noise. And if you're still here, still alive, still breathing, then you still have work to do. And that work requires clarity. The people who truly understand your journey won't take your focus personally. They won't guilt trip you for being unavailable. They won't see your silence as rejection. They'll respect it, because they'll know you're not pushing them away. You're pulling your purpose closer. And the ones who don't get it, let them go. You're not responsible for how others perceive your priorities. You're responsible for living them. Focus also doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean cutting off the world completely. It means you choose where your energy goes instead of letting others choose for you. It means your day isn't filled with distractions disguised as responsibilities. It means you wake up with clarity and you end your day knowing you spent it on something that matters. Every time you say no to a distraction, you say yes to progress. Every time you skip something that everyone else is doing, you're creating a future that no one else will have. That's not selfish. That's how legacy is made. You've already spent years giving your time away to jobs, to relationships, to obligations. You've spent decades showing up for everyone else. And now, in this chapter of life, it's not just your right to be focused, it's your duty. Because the truth is, your best work might still be ahead of you. Your most important idea might not be born yet. Your greatest impact might not have happened yet, but it will never arrive if you keep apologizing for the focus that could bring it to life. So stop saying sorry for the hours you spend alone. Stop apologizing for protecting your calendar like it's sacred, because it is. Stop watering yourself down just to make others comfortable. You are not here to blend in. You are here to lock in, to sharpen, to finish with the same fire you started with. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them call you distant. Let them say you've changed, because you have. You've stopped chasing approval and started chasing something far more powerful. Purpose, precision, peace. Don't explain it. Don't apologize for it. Own it. And never look back. Friendliness is not a retirement plan. It doesn't pay the bills. Protect your peace or secure your legacy. And yet, as people age, they're often sold the lie that being liked is enough, that being the friendly one, always smiling, always available, always agreeable, is a strategy for fulfillment in later life. It's not. It's a mask, and the longer you wear it, the more you lose touch with who you really are beneath it. There's a dangerous belief that once you've reached a certain age, you've earned the right to sit back, be everyone's favorite, and live out your days in soft conversations and quiet gatherings. But the world doesn't care how nice you are. It doesn't reward you for being polite. It doesn't elevate you for saying yes to everything and everyone. In fact, it often forgets you. That's the harsh truth. People remember impact, not availability. They remember the times you challenged them, not just the times you comforted them. They remember the moments you made them think, not just the moments you made them smile. You don't leave a legacy by being liked. You leave it by living with intention, by building something bigger than yourself, and by protecting your energy like it's the last currency you'll ever hold. Friendliness may get you applause, but purpose earns you respect. And in your later years, respect is what matters, because respect is the foundation of true influence. Without it, you become background noise, pleasant but forgettable. You can give your whole life to being kind, generous, always there for everyone. And when you're no longer useful to them, they'll move on. Not because they're cruel, but because that's how people are wired. They gravitate toward value, toward strength, toward clarity. And when all you offer is your friendliness, you become easy to overlook. You have to ask yourself a hard question: am I being kind because I want to, or because I'm afraid of being alone, irrelevant, or forgotten? If your friendliness is a strategy for staying in people's lives, then it's not kindness, it's self-protection. And self-protection often means self-betrayal. You betray your time, your boundaries, your energy, just to keep relationships that no longer serve your growth. Somewhere along the line, society convinced older people that their role was to soften, to be the gentle elder, to hold their tongue and just be there. But that's not your only option. You can be sharp, focused, unavailable to anything that doesn't align with your mission. You can be feared a little, respected deeply, and still kind, just not soft. You don't owe the world a version of you that's endlessly accessible. You don't have to pick up every call, attend every family gathering, solve every problem that lands in your inbox. You don't have to mentor everyone who asks, listen to every event session, or show up just to make others feel supported. You've done that for years, decades even. Now is the time to reclaim that energy and use it to finish your own story, not to keep rewriting everyone else's. The irony is that when you start pulling back, when you stop giving out your time so freely, people will notice. They'll feel the shift. They'll ask what's wrong. They'll say, you've changed. And they're right. You've remembered that being alive isn't the same as being available. That just because you've lived long doesn't mean your work here is done. That you still have something to build, something to say, something to leave behind that isn't just a memory of how nice you were. And that's the turning point. When you realize that your greatest work might still be ahead of you. That your most meaningful creation, your most powerful words, your most enduring legacy may still be waiting for you. If you stop spending all your time trying to be the friendly one, you were not born to retire into irrelevance. You were not born to be background scenery in other people's lives. You were not born to fade out with a smile on your face and nothing left in your hands. You were born to evolve, to disrupt, to shift the world, even if it's just your corner of it. That requires boundaries. It requires audacity. It requires saying no often. And it requires accepting that some people will misunderstand your change as coldness when it's actually clarity. Being friendly won't protect you from regret. It won't shield you from the pain of wasted time or lost potential. You can live the rest of your life being liked by everyone and still feel deeply unseen by yourself. And that's the worst kind of loneliness, the one that happens in the middle of a crowd that adores you for being everything but yourself. So what do? You stop making friendliness your currency. You stop giving discounts on your presence. You stop using politeness as a shield. And you start using your time like it's a sacred resource, because it is. You start asking, what do I want to build? Who do I want to be? What kind of impact do I want to leave behind? You start crafting a life that doesn't rely on applause, but on alignment. Because in the end, you don't need to be liked by the world. You need to be remembered for something real, something bold, something that looked like truth and sounded like fire. And that will never happen if all you chase is friendliness. If you're listening to this and you're over 50, over 60, whatever the number, hear me clearly. Your mission isn't over. Your power isn't gone. Your time hasn't expired. But your softness needs to. Start saying no to anything that drains you. Start saying yes only to the things that multiply your vision. Remove people who don't bring clarity. Cut off activities that bring zero growth. And most importantly, stop asking for permission to live the rest of your life on your terms. You've got limited time, limited energy, and unlimited potential if you stop wasting it on being too nice. From this moment on, become unapologetically focused. Speak less, do more. Care less about opinions and more about execution. Forget fitting in. It's time to stand out. You are not here to age politely. You are here to finish loud, legendary, and untouchable. Get to work.